It's a continuation from the previous video. So you can use unfocused shots to create semi-abstract photographs. And as we talked about, there needs to be something recognizable. This is beautiful. The contrast on this is good. And it's clearly somebody holding an umbrella. As long as you can recognize what the subject matter is, you can do this. It creates very suggestive shots. Now, there's a little bit here that's in focus, just a very thin sliver of an image in this. But someone's walking down a street mall, a street market in an Asian country, and I can't tell what language that is. And they're shooting down the mall with this very, very, very narrow focus, and everything else is out of focus. And you know what it is. You know these are people. So that's why you can get away with that. Creates a very interesting shot. Same here, right? This is completely out of focus, but it works because we recognize that these are people. It's very clear, right? This is a woman with a green shirt, and she's got on a floral skirt, and there's her purse, and she has short hair. She's with a man who's in a black suit holding a yellow shopping bag, right? I can see this guy's losing his hair. This guy's already lost his hair. She's got a red dress on, right? So you can see in these photos what this is. So this is just enough out of focus that it works because I still can recognize what these people are. And another reason this works is the balance. Balance is really, really important here. If this was very heavily, if there were people over here and nothing over here, it would be out of balance. The people in this composition are scattered throughout enough in a way that it's a very balanced photo. And that's what allows the pattern here, the rhythm, the harmony to work. That's really out of focus, but you still know it's a room, and you know that these are chairs. And this is probably a bar or something, and this is a room, and the sun's coming in, and this is a floor. So you still can recognize it. As long as it's identifiable, you can make some really cool stuff with it. But you still have to be very careful when you do minimalism out of focus like this, because it's hard. I mean, people think minimalism's easy because it's simple, but it's not. You have to make sure that your composition is unified and balanced, and that you have very, very carefully and creatively applied those principles of design. Use tilt-shift photography to make real things look miniature. There's you can do it in Photoshop. There's also apps that you can download on your phone. And then there's another one here, a website, Shift Tilt Maker, that will let you do this. And what you do is it's a real photo, but if you use the tilt-shift, it makes it look like a miniature. It looks like a model, tiny little model. But it's not. This is just a real photo. And what it does is it creates a very narrow, right here, these people crossing the street are in focus, and then everything else gets out of focus. And the way it tilts it and shifts it, it just makes it look like it's a miniature scene. But it's real, as is that. That train, that's a real train station, but it looks like toy trains and miniature trains, and it's pretty cool. Same here. Real photo. That was taken early in the morning. Gorgeous. But it's just got that very narrow band of focus right there. Everything else then becomes out of focus, and it makes the objects feel like they're part of a miniature scene. So that's called tilt shift. It's pretty cool. Play with shadows. Shadows are pretty easy to do. Here they just use the hand and had someone in the foreground moving around and played around with it. The shadows that the flowers created on the wall are interesting. I'm not going to say this is great, and I think this actually is a really good example of when I talk about you can do this, but you need to make sure that it works with principles and elements of design. And while this is cool in terms of the fact that the shadow on the wall from the flowers is there, they didn't do a very good job with the principles with the principles of design here at all. This is not balanced. The shape that it creates is not interesting, and in order for this to be good, it would need to be. This is too dark over here. I definitely would have cropped this shot maybe almost in half and shifted so that the shadow was closer to the objects. This part starts off great. This is really cool, actually. This is pretty cool. But then this just, it's unrecognizable, and it doesn't form an interesting shape. And so you have to just play around with it until you can get up and down with the camera, left and right, until rotate the vase, move it around from the light, because this is light coming in through a window. Just move it around until the shadows look right. They just don't in this photo. This one's great. The reflection of the bike, and then they inverted the photo, and it just created this very surreal shot. I love this one. This could be taken at any time in the history of whatever city this is, because the shadow of the man and the child doesn't give away the time period in which it's taken. This could have been taken in the 20s, in the 50s, in the 80s, or yesterday. And so that makes it very timeless and classic, and it's interesting and intriguing and mysterious all at the same time. And the great, beautiful thing about this is the dark shadow up against the white, and it's the only place in here where you have that kind of high key contrast. I mean, you still have the contrast, but this isn't bright white, but this is. And so it really causes this to be the focal point, and great photo. I think personally for me, the only thing that could have made this better is if you had something over here, or I'm looking at this, if it would work here, like a flower on the growing out of the sidewalk that was in color, because this is black and white. But that's just me. You can always crop that in, right, in Photoshop. Create illusions using forced perspective. I know you guys have seen people do this. It's really funny for the most part. Here they're using the moon as a ball, moon in the wheelbarrow, moon on a tripod, using it as a light to read. Very clever. Here is, just perspective, right? There's someone in the foreground who's doing pull-ups, and in the background there are other people playing on the beach, and it creates this sense of a massive giant in the foreground. Okay, so this is really, really cool. I was trying to figure out how he did this, and I realized that this, at first it looks like this is part of the parking lot, but it's not. Look at this. There's an edge right here. See that hard edge right there? And he's standing below it. And I think if he had crawled on this, and this is a toy car, if he had moved that toy car over and crawled on this and stuck out his legs that way, you wouldn't have known right away that this is not all the same parking lot. It would have your brain would have not really noticed that. But this is a real car, and he's holding out his hand and pretending to touch it, and this is a toy car that he's actually touching. And that's how he did that. Obviously, if you tilt your head to the left, that's how the photo was taken, and then the artist rotated it to make it look like he's sitting up and created that clever shot. Photograph things that are submerged in liquid or colored liquid. I showed you guys a shot that I did where I had flowers floating in water, and I took that in the lake at around sunset, and so that's why it created this kind of feel. This is done in a bathtub. It's very, very clever. Kind of creepy, but very clever. Yeah, same here. Floating things in water, or people in water, create some interesting shots. It's actually somewhat similar to what I did with the flowers, with leaves. Those are candles floating on water. Dirty water, looks like. Other ways you can use mirrors. We talked about mirrors earlier, but you can also use mirrors like this. And this guy's just holding a mirror and reflecting back what's in front of him. And there's some really good shots people have done, like this one. This one's pretty famous. You can also go in later in Photoshop and edit what's inside the mirror. Because she's got this tilted... Oh, you know what? I just realized this. It's actually cut. The photographer actually made it look like it's hollow, like it's see-through. I always thought it was reflecting what was behind her, but you can see this is what's behind her. And there's a way to do that with photography where you take a shot just of the scene, then you have the model come in and you shoot her, and then you can edit around that. And then another one where that was edited inside the mirror, right? You take the shot, obviously, and because this is head on, the reflection is actually going to be the photographer. But what they did was edit and put the original photo inside again, and then gave another photo inside of that photo, or that mirror frame. Another mirror just reflecting the back of someone. Clever too, because this mirror is facing straight onto the photographer, but you don't see the photographer. So this was edited in post. Create a complex, unrealistic setting and photograph it. Like that. Basically, he suspended apples using, this was not Photoshop. He suspended apples using filament and just made sure the light didn't hit them so you can't see them. Pretty clever. Just a woman hanging on the clothesline by her dress. Pages blowing around. Apply digital filter to create an illustrative effect. Here are some examples of being able to do that. And here, if you want to take the photo and then do this kind of stuff with it, this link tells you how. Here's another one. Show you how you can create that effect. There's all kinds. All you have to do is go to Google and search for it. Here's another one, Photoshop effects, tutorials that you can use to create more clever images. That's great, because nothing wrong with that photo, but this photo is just beautiful. It's really beautiful. It just takes it to a whole other level. Okay, so the source for these ideas and many, many more can be found at that link. And this is in Blackboard for you to access for that purpose, okay? And to go back and read everything and use that in conjunction with these lectures. If you want, again, you're not submitting these labs for this course. You can take a photo and doing something creative and play around with it. And we are going to end this series on PowerPoint 6 here. Let me know if you have any questions.